رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم. We have been talking about political science, and the most important topic in political science is state. And last time I have defined state in my own way. I said state is a complex organization. It's a complex organization consisting of territory, population, government, and sovereignty. Of these four elements, territory, population, government, and sovereignty, of these four elements, government is the most important one. It is the government which speaks for the state. And when we talk about government, government is not one organization. Government contains three important branches of government: executive, legislature, and judiciary. These are the three branches of government, and these are the most important branches. If you are asking me, Prof, which one is more important among the three, then I would tell you that most important branch of government is the legislature, because nothing moves without legislature. Legislature is the lawmaking body. All the laws are made by the legislature. And therefore, theoretically speaking, legislature is the most important branch of government. However, in terms of power, it is the executive which has more power than anything. Executive, I think I told you last time, their functions are very clear. Legislature legislates, executive executes, judiciary adjudicates. So legislature legislates means legislature makes laws. Executive executes means executive simply implement the rules and laws made by the legislature. And judiciary adjudicates means it decides in case of disagreement or in case of differences of opinion on any matter. The judiciary will decide and will give a decision, and which will be binding. So executive becomes a very powerful organization. Executive is everywhere. Every single individual has to deal with the executive, whether you like it or you don't like it. Every single moment that you are living, you have to deal with the executive. I make jokes in the class. I ask my students, hey, did you have breakfast in the morning? Yes, sir. I said, did you ask the permission from the Prime Minister before you ate? He said, huh? I said, you did not? How can you eat without his permission? He has to give you permission before you eat. And then somebody was coming. So I asked one of my colleagues, I said, did you see the Prime Minister on the way? He said, huh? How can I see the Prime Minister? I said, yes, you talked to him, you met him, you asked his permission to come to the office. He said, Prof, please tell me a little bit more. I said, when you were coming by the highway, did you see the traffic lights? He said, yes. I said, traffic light is the Prime Minister. Traffic light tells you whether you can drive or you cannot drive. When you see the red, you have to stop. When you see a green, you move. Okay? So what does it mean? It means that when you stop, you are following what the Prime Minister has said. You must obey. If you do not obey, what happens? You will have summons. You have to pay. To who? To the executive, to the government. And if you do not pay, what happens? If you do not pay, you will be arrested. And if you are arrested, what happens? You go to jail. And if you go to jail and if you want to run away, then Prime Minister will shoot you. That is his job. His job is to execute. What it means exactly is that executive is everywhere. You don't see it, you don't realize it. So the shirt that we are wearing, we have to pay taxes on it. If the tax is not paid, who is getting the tax? Government. It's the executive which gets the taxes, and it is on that basis of taxes that we run. On the highway we want to go in, you have to pay taxes. Why? Because the government incurs money on you. So in other words, in everything we do, the food we eat, the dress we wear, and the cars we drive, all these things are controlled by the executive, and every day we confront them. Unfortunately, we do not realize that we are confronting them. And we must realize this. Therefore, executive, in terms of power, is the most important organ of government. So, executive are government officials. They are government officials, except for those who are working in the legislature or in the judicial capacity. Other than them, they are all executives. But when we talk about executive, we are talking about the political executive as well as non-political executive. There are two types of executives. One is political executive, the other one is non-political executive. The political executives are the prime ministers and the cabinet ministers and others. These are political executives. Of course, they come in, they hold portfolios, they head certain decisions, certain boards, certain divisions in the government. They make laws, and these laws are carried out by non-political executives. Okay? So, Prime Minister is a political executive. Interestingly, political executives, they come and go. They are not permanent. They are not permanent. They come and they go. Some prime ministers, they survive for 22 years, and later on when he comes back, he survives only for 2 years, and then leaves. Some prime ministers survive only, in Pakistan, there were prime ministers who lasted only for 2 hours. Only for 2 hours they lasted. They became the prime minister, and then after 2 hours, they had to leave because the majority of the members of parliament, they refused to obey. So 2 hours, this is the record. A prime minister serves only for 2 hours, and this is a great achievement for Pakistan. That was back in 1947 to 1949. That happened. In Malaysia, of course, now we are seeing almost coming to the same position. Prime Minister Mahathir came in, he took over. For 2 years, he was the prime minister, and then he resigned. Okay? And then another prime minister took over. Now people are asking him to resign as well. Okay? We don't know what will happen. The thing is that they are non-permanent. They come and they go. They have fixed period of time. 4 years, 5 years. So prime minister and his ministers, they come here for 5 years by law. Okay? And then they will go away. But there is another type of executive. They do not go at all. They stay permanently. So today you have one prime minister, tomorrow you have another prime minister, third day you have another prime minister, fourth day you have another prime minister. It matters little to them. They just carry out their duties. whether there is a prime minister, whether this is a prime minister or that is a prime minister, whether this belongs to a party or that belongs to a party. They don't, whoever comes to power, they salute them and they carry out orders. These are called permanent executive. Permanent executive, you have not heard this name, but I think you have heard the other term called the civil servants. They are the civil servants. They are also called bureaucrats. They are the bureaucrats. They are the civil servants. And they are permanent. They are permanent. So if you are talking about the bureaucracy, bureaucracy is a professional body of officials, and they have 4 P's. They are defined in terms of 4 P's. One is they are paid. 1 P. They are paid. They are paid handsomely, and they get bonuses and everything regularly. And their salary is much higher than many others. Secondly, they are permanent. These bureaucrats, they are permanent. The prime ministers come and go, but they stay in power. And they will come out of bureaucracy only when it's the time of retirement. Until they are retired, they cannot be sacked. So they cannot be fired at will. Of course, the government can fire any civil servant, but the government has to go through so many steps, procedures, before they can get rid of one bureaucrat, because they are permanent staff. They cannot be fired at will. But if you look at the private administration in the business world, people are hired and fired at will at any time. At any time. If the boss is happy, he will give you a lot of money. If the boss is angry, he will fire you on the spot, and you can say nothing about it. But in the bureaucracy, you cannot do that. They are there permanently until they retire. Maximum that the government can do if they don't like him is to transfer from one position to the other, but they cannot be fired. Third P is that they are proficient people. They are highly skilled people. They are highly skilled people. They are chosen according to merit, and they have been trained. In some countries, there is an open examination, and they will have to sit for the written test, and they have to sit for the oral test, and in addition, they have to go for physical test and trials and everything. One of my students was a little bit chubby, very good student. He went and he applied for a job, and he did very well in his written, came and told me, Prof, my written is very good. I said, I know, just wait and see. And then his oral came, and in the oral also he was good. And then finally, I met him after a month. I said, what happened? He said, I have not been chosen. I said, why? He said, they took me to a field and asked me to jog for 5 kilometers. I could not do that one. So they are highly trained people. They are proficient, and they have to maintain this one. And this is very good. And the fourth P is that they are politically neutral. They may have preferences, of course, everybody has preferences, but they are politically neutral. In the office, they don't care whether it's or pass or fail or whatever it is. They don't care. Whoever is the government, they will still serve. That's why the bureaucracy is known as the steel frame of government. Steel frame of government. Without bureaucracy, the governments collapse. And they don't have to do anything. If they don't want anybody, if they want to take action, they can easily take action by just simply not going to the office. Khalas. Then things would collapse. So These are the bureaucrats, and they work according to hierarchy. There is an official hierarchy there. Their roles are clearly defined, what they are supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do. There are a formal set of rules and procedures that they follow, and they are professionals, competent, permanent, competent staff. And because they are permanent, and because state depends upon them, it is expected that the bureaucracy will not be corrupt. Remind you, remember this, I said it is expected. I didn't say bureaucrats are not corrupt. Okay? Corruption is everywhere, and in bureaucracy also you will find corruption. But the authorities, the scholars, they say that give bureaucrats so much and so much of money that they will have no need for any money anymore, so that they do not become corrupt. And this is the reason why the bureaucrats are given free housing, free car, free this, free that, salary increment, and etc., etc. The reason is that we don't want the bureaucrats to be corrupt. They should not go. They should not go after money. However, there was another scholar. He said, "This is a very good suggestion. Give them money. But do you know the meaning of money? Money, yet more money. The more money you have, the more money you want. The person who is happy is the poor person who has a little to eat and little he does not care. Somehow, if he earns a day and if he can feed himself and his family, he is happy. But a rich man cannot sleep at night. He is thinking about money. Money. He has more money. He wants much more money, and there is no end to things, and therefore the desire for money cannot be satisfied. However, people still say that you must give them enough salary so that they are not corrupt. So civil service is very, very important, and we must take care of them. We come to the political executive. Political executives, as I told you, are the non-permanent political animals. They are non-permanent because they come and they go. When they are elected, they take over. When they lose the election, they go away. There are several types of political executives. Okay? Basically, there are two types of political executives. One is called nominal executive, and the other one is called real executive. Nominal executive and real executive. I wish I was talking to all of you face to face so that I can ask you, do you know what is nominal and what is real? Here I'm talking to my computer, who does not answer anything. I can see only Shahran's face, and he always laughs at me. This is what it is. So you have nominal executive and you have real executive. Nominal executive, nominal means by name only. He has no power. Real executive is the one who exercises all the power, but people think he has no power. So what are the examples? Who are the nominal executives? Nominal executives are those people, they are head of the state. Okay? They are head of state, and they assume different forms. In Malaysia, the nominal executives are the king. Yang di-Pertuan Agong is the nominal executive. He is the executive in name. But luckily for this Yang di-Pertuan Agong, he has a lot of role to play. He has to mediate a lot of conflicts among the politicians. He has to come in and play. But still, he does not play the real executive role. His job is to ceremonial. He is a ceremonial head. In various ceremonies, he is invited. He goes there. Okay? Most of the time, they ask me, what is the function of the nominal head? I said, the function of the nominal head is to cut the ribbon. they, they are very experts in cutting ribbons. When they are going, launching something, launching here, launching there, they cut the ribbon, and this is their job. It's ceremonial function. Real power is with the executive. They are executive heads of government. So the power is in the hands of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Ministers, ministers, these are the members of his cabinet. Power is with them, and they are called executive arms of government because they execute policies directly. In the execution of policies, the nominal head does not come in. They just stay there and see what's happening and what is not happening. In England, if you go there, the Queen is the nominal head. The Queen is the nominal head, and the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, is the real executive. All the policies are taken by him, all the decisions are made by him. The Queen simply says yes to what Boris Johnson says. Okay? So what is the function of the nominal executive? Is to say yes. They will not say no unless and until there is a serious crisis. Only when there is crisis, then nominal executive moves in and comes in. And this happened in the case of Malaysia. When Prime Minister Mahathir resigned, means there is no government. If there is no government, how a country cannot run without a government? So what would happen? So he went to Yang di-Pertuan Agong, and Yang di-Pertuan Agong said, please don't resign, stay. And he said, no, I have to go. I have resigned. So he said, okay, if you have resigned, still you stay temporary. What is it called? Executive who is not permanent, but he is for the time being. He said, you stay. Caretaker PM. Interim Prime Minister. Interim Prime Minister. And he has been asked, you stay as an interim Prime Minister to run the government until I appoint another Prime Minister. So this is where the nominal executive came, and he started exercising power. He decides now, because you cannot decide among yourselves who is going to be the Prime Minister, I will decide. So he started calling all the members of parliament to his house, his office, and then talking to them, interviewing them. Finally, he came to the conclusion that this guy, that Muhyiddin Yassin has the majority. So he said, okay, he will be the Prime Minister. So when you have a crisis situation, then a nominal executive comes to power, comes to play a role. Otherwise, nominal executive remains ceremonial head. Real executive is in the hands of the Prime Minister. Not all countries have the Prime Minister. In America, there are no Prime Ministers. Okay? There is only President. Okay? So President is all in all. He is the nominal as well as the real. He is the nominal as well as the real executive. And therefore, he exercises his power the way he would like it. Executive, the real executive, it's very funny, who is the commander-in-chief of the Army, Navy, and Air Force in the country? If you look at it, it is the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, is the nominal head, who is the chief of all the armed forces. Okay? But in reality, power is exercised by the Prime Minister. So, Prime Minister, he has to perform several functions. Number one, most important function of the Prime Minister is to maintain law and order. This is the most important function that the Prime Minister has to perform, to maintain law and order. And in order to maintain law and order, there is police, there is paramilitary. And all these people are directly under the control of the Prime Minister, if it is a parliamentary system. If it is a presidential system, then it is all under the command of the president. So the one of the function is to maintain law and order. If there is no law and order, the things will go topsy-turvy and nobody will be able to do anything needed for it. The second function of the executive is to protect the country from external aggression. Is to protect our boundaries so that outside forces cannot enter. Because the aggression is military affairs, so the military is also under the control of the Prime Minister. Under the control of the Prime Minister. So he controls the army, he controls the navy, he controls the air force, he controls the military, police, he controls the paramilitary. All these people are under command of the political executive, and therefore political executive becomes very, very powerful. And this is the reason why everybody wants to become the Prime Minister. I want to be the Prime Minister. Why don't you become the deputy? No, no, no. Deputy is a deputy. I don't want to be the deputy. I want to exercise full power. And the power can be exercised only if I am the Prime Minister. And this is why there is a good deal of hanky-panky going on. Everybody wants to become the Prime Minister, and therefore everybody is looking for one way or the other to get the guy who is on top down. Going here, going there, all kinds of manipulations are taking place because power is with the Prime Minister, and therefore they want to become the Prime Minister. This is what the executive is all about. Okay? Executive, they maintain law and order in the society, they protect the country from outside aggression, and thereafter they make laws, they implement the laws made by the legislature. Budgets, every year budgets are prepared by the executive, but they have to bring the budget to the legislature, and the legislature has to approve the budget. If legislature does not approve the budget, the government will be shut down. The government cannot function anymore. Therefore, executive and legislature, they have to maintain good relationship from each other. But they are also check and balances, so that the executive will not take any action which will antagonize the legislature, and the legislature will stop them from using it. Similarly, legislature will not do anything such that the government will stop functioning. There has to be check and balance from each other, and there has to be a kind of quid pro quo. I do this, you do this, and then we will maintain a kind of balance in this society. Okay, so in order to run the government, you need an executive. An executive, whether you agree or you don't agree, executive is there, executive is everywhere, and executive functions in different ways, either as Prime Minister or as President or as Yang di-Pertuan Agong or as a nominal elected president. In India, you have a president who is more or less like Yang di-Pertuan Agong. He is a nominal head. He is elected for 5 years or 10 years. After that, he has to go. But he is nominal. The real power is with the Prime Minister. So we have to understand that executive is very, very important. Now the question is there any room for executive in Islam? We have an executive. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's a very famous hadith which says if three of you go together, then appoint one of them as your Khalifa, as your Imam. If there is a group of three people, then one has to be the leader. And that leader is the executive. That leader is the executive. Executive is called Ulul Amr. In the Quran, we know the Quranic ayah, Ati'ullaha wa Ati'ur Rasul wa Ulil Amr. This Ulul Amr is the executive. And the person who exercises that power is called Amir. Amir is the leader. Amir is the leader. He has to be elected. Remember this. Leader in Islam must be elected by the people. Nobody can impose himself and come and say, well, I'm the professor, I'm the senior most professor, so I will be your imam or I will be your leader. No, you cannot do that. It is the people who will decide whether you will be their leader or not. A leader in Islam cannot ask for the position. Prophet ﷺ said it very categorically. We do not give power or position to those who ask for it. Abu Zar Ghifari, he asked the Prophet ﷺ, why don't you make me the governor of that state? So the Prophet ﷺ said, number one, your shoulder is very weak to carry the burden. Number two, we do not give positions to those who ask for it. And therefore, Abu Zar Ghifari was not appointed the governor. So the Amir is the executive, is the real executive, as well as the nominal executive. If you want, you can have a nominal executive for consultation purposes, but you must have a real executive, and that real executive must be elected by the people. You cannot force yourself into the position. Full stop. The 5 times prayer teaches us that when there is jama'ah, the jama'ah, before the jama'ah, there is iqamah. In the iqamah, the muazzin calls people, please stand up, straighten your saf, shoulder to shoulder, leg to leg, so that there remains no distinction of race, color, or anything. Everyone is equal. Once it is done, then these people will decide who will be the imam. Nobody can just come from there and say, hey, I'm the professor, let me be the imam. The people, they know who is the right person to lead, who can lead us properly. Someone who knows about the prayer, someone who knows about the Quran, someone who knows about the Sunnah, someone whose qira'ah is very good. Okay? It is that person they choose, and then they push him to become the imam. When I was in Nigeria, I was very happy. I was in Nigeria because of my gray beard and gray and white hair. Every time I go to the mosque, they will push me to become the imam. I hated that part. One day I told one of them, I said, why don't you push me to become the prime minister of your country? But that one is not allowed. Only the imam is allowed. I said, imam has no money, no power, no nothing. But still, he said, no, people love you, so you have to be the imam. So nowadays, people choose whom they want just to lead the prayer, not to lead the country. Yeah? So imam must be elected. Secondly, the imam must be most pious person. Piety is very, very important. Okay, he must be spiritually charged, fully charged. Okay? He must be highly respectable. If people do not respect you, how are you going to ask them to do it? He must be knowledgeable person. He must be a capable administrator. He has to have all these qualities. He has to have these qualities. Otherwise, he cannot become the executive. He must be elected. If you look at the first four Khulafa Rashidun, Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu was elected by the people. He did not force himself. He did not want to be the prime minister. He did not want to be the Khalifa. He did not want to be the Khalifa. He actually asked Sayyidina Umar that, come on, come, I will take oath in your hand. Uthman said no. Umar said no. You have been the one leading prayer even when the Prophet ﷺ was alive. So now he has passed away. You continue. So he was nominated in that meeting, and thereafter they came to the mosque and they said, okay, we have chosen Abu Bakr as your Khalifa. If you agree with this, please take bay'ah. And everybody in the masjid, they agreed. They said, okay, they took bay'ah. And Abu Bakr, very interestingly, he did not like it. So in his very first speech, he said, look, you have made me your chief, but I'm not the best among you. If someone else had been given this position, I would have been very happy. But now you have given me this post, I have to carry the burden. If you see me walking on the straight road, Siratul Mustaqim, follow me. But if you see me deviating from it, then correct me. If I do right, support me. If I do wrong, correct me. Obey me. This is a very beautiful word. Obey me as long as I obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his apostle and his prophet. But if you see that I'm disobeying Allah and his Rasul, then you should not obey me. If you obey God, if you are fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you have the taqwa, you are the strongest among the Muslims. If you are a sinner, then you are the weakest. And a sinner does not have to be bad to. A person is sinning when he sees something wrong and he does not do anything to correct it. This is what executive is, real executive. A real executive is subject to the rule of law. His job is to implement the Sharia and to interest of the Ummah. But he has to convey the teachings of Islam. He is subject to the rule of law. The law which is applicable to any ordinary person is also applicable to the executive. He can be removed if he violates the rules. If he violates the rules, you have to correct him. Keep on correcting him. After 2 or 3 times, if he fails to correct himself, then you impeach him. This is what happens also in the prayer. Imam is there, and then he makes a mistake. People at the back, they correct him. I have seen beautiful example that one professor of English, very pious man, but he didn't know how to recite Quran. He didn't know how to recite Surah Fatiha properly. But he was praying 5 times, and always his eyes were numb. Always praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one day when we all gathered together, it was Maghrib time, and then people started together, and then they pushed him to become the Imam. He said, no, 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 no. They will not listen. Professor, you have to lead. But they wouldn't listen. The people thought that he is a professor, a pious person, 5 times in the mosque. What else do we want? This person, he could not read Surah Fatiha properly. Maliki Yawmiddin, Na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, cannot say it properly. One time he was corrected, he could not do. Second time he was corrected, he could not do. Third time he was corrected, he could not do. And then the 4th time somebody went up and pulled him down. So he came, and the other guy went and he finished the prayer. This is called the principle of impeachment. There is no bad feeling, no hurt feeling. You could not do it, somebody else will do it. Let him do it. You don't have to feel bad about it. So Islam approves of it. Islam wants an executive. Actually, without executive, there will be no law, there will be no law and order in the country. And therefore, law and order is absolutely essential, and you must have an executive. The question is the difference between political executive and non-political executive. In our history, we do not have clear-cut, we have created an institution where non-political people will be called in, they will sit, they are not bureaucrats. So bureaucracy is not to be found. That does not mean there was no bureaucracy. Our bureaucracies were there. Okay? In the Ottoman Empire, Osmania Khilafah, they had a very strong bureaucracy. And they carried out all the rules and regulations, implemented everything one by one. And they did the same thing. And there was no problem as far as the executive is concerned. Imam Ibn Khaldun, he wrote, he didn't talk about the thing, but he talked about the pen, power of the pen. He said, do you know how many types of pen do you have? There is one kind of pen which is meant for writing letters and correspondence. This is called pen of letters and correspondence. There is another pen, it's called pen of diplomats. Pen of diplomats. And there is third kind, it's called pen of bookkeeping, accountant. All these 3 pens are necessary in the government. So government requires these people, pen of letters, pen of bureaucrats, pen of bookkeeping. All these people are needed in the state, if the state is to run properly. If Ibn Khaldun, remember Ibn Khaldun wrote his Muqaddimah in 1377. At that time he was saying that this is happening. Now, when a corrupt officials become corrupt, and these men of pen, they become corrupt, then the state will start to decline. The rulers will become also corrupt. They will become despotic. They will become arrogant. And they will not be just. They will try to centralize power in their hands. They will collect all the powers in their hands and they will try to rule according to their whims and caprices. Once people arrogates power to themselves, according to Ibn Khaldun, this is the beginning of the end of that particular state. Beginning of the end of that particular. So, bureaucracy, therefore, is absolutely important. And that bureaucracy must be maintained at all times. But remember, bureaucracy has to be controlled. Bureaucracy has to be controlled, and that control comes from the executive and from the legislature. That controlling function is performed by the executive, by the legislature, as well as by the judiciary. You can see this. I like this thing every day. Every night I watch this CNN, and CNN has nothing but Donald Trump. Okay, and shows you Donald Trump wants to do so many different things according to his will. But he is controlled by the legislature, and legislature comes coming and saying, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you cannot do this. And therefore, at times he is frustrated. But otherwise, he is a very powerful president. People are abusing him, people are calling names about the president, and people are working and enjoying their life. This cannot happen in the Muslim countries. If in any Muslim country, if anybody criticizes the prime minister or any minister, he ends up in jail. That is not Islamic. Okay? Yes, Islam approves of the executive, both political executive as well as non-political executive. And the political executive is called Amir. And Amir is a Khalifa. Amir is a Khalifa. Khalifa, and every individual, every believer in Islam is a Khalifa. Khalifa can fill out. Now the Khalifa, he is Khalifa over himself first. First thing about the Khalifa, and I would like all of us to take care of this, take note of that. When we talk about Khalifa, Khalifa means a person who rules over himself. He controls himself spiritually and physically. That is the first characteristics of Khalifa. Khalifa, he rules over himself first. He controls himself. He has to be aware all the time whether he is spiritually right, whether he has to be physically correct as well. He has to be physically correct as well. He should be economically sound. So that he does not start begging and he does not start taking money from the government treasury. So he has to control himself, and this is the first important characteristics of a Khalifa, is regarding oneself, myself. Am I the right Khalifa? Am I claiming to be Khalifa? You don't have to claim to be Khalifa. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you are Khalifa. Inna ja'alnakum khalifatan fil ard. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I'm going to create Khalifa on earth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you all the things. So he says, first thing, you control yourself. Are you praying 5 times? Are you doing all the requirements that is required by Sharia? You have to be economically sound. Okay? Somehow our ulama gave this wrong impression to many people that poverty is something good. Poverty is not good. A Muslim by definition cannot become poor. By definition, he cannot be poor. He has to be rich. If he does not have money, how is he going to pay zakah? Where is the sadaqah come from? Who is going to give khairat? But that economy, that development has to come in a halal way, not in a haram way. That is the most important part of it. You have to be economically sound. That economy has to be based upon halal income. You have to be spiritually sound based upon your performance of your regular rites and rituals as prescribed in the Sharia. And you have to be physically strong. You have to be physically strong so that you can. The second aspect of the Khalifa is that you have to perform justice. You have to perform justice. فَاحْكُمْ بَيْنَهُمْ بِالْحَقِّ فَاحْكُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ بِالْحَقِّ اعْدِلُوا هُوَ أَقْرَبُ لِلتَّقْوَى. How do you do اعْدِلُوا? You have to do justice. When you do justice, you are closer to taqwa. And taqwa requires that you have to tell the truth. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا. قولا سديد is the thing that you are supposed to do. And you are supposed to promote peace. Violence, vengeance, these have to be avoided as much as possible. You are peaceful. But you will not take action unless somebody forces you to take action. A Muslim is a peaceful person. But if you incite him, he can take up arms against you. And that is very dangerous. So a Khalifa will perform justice and will promote peace. And the most important part is that he will rule according to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Follow the Quran and Sunnah in letters and in spirit. And that is what the Khalifa is all about. The Khalifa will be just, he will be spiritually and physically strong, and he will rule according to the Sharia, according to the dictates of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, means he will be following Quran and Sunnah to the letter and to this. And this is what it is. A Khalifa political executive is there, and the non-political executives that Khalifa appoints or the state appoints, they must try to imitate. They must imitate the Khalifa. However, the non-political executive, they will also control themselves spiritually and physically. They will also perform justice and promote peace. They will not govern. They will govern according to the dictates of the Amir. Amir will tell him, this is what it is. But again, when you are following the Amir, the civil servants, they have to check whether it is according to Sharia or not. If it is, then there will be no question. But if it is against the Sharia, then they have to correct it. They have to inform the Khalifa that, sorry, what you are saying is against the rules. We cannot obey that one. We have to change it, etc., etc. But they have to obey all other commands which are according to the dictates of the Quran and the Sunnah. Wabillahi tawfiq wal hidayah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Assalamu warahmatullah. Thank you so much, Prof, for a very detailed discussion on executive. Prof, we don't get the tip that you are mentioning. I know the last one is accountant. The first one to write something. The second one is the three pen Ibn Khaldun pen that you are mentioning.
I can't hear you properly.
Oh, okay. You mentioned about Ibn Khaldun pen, definition of pen. There are three category.
Oh, three different types of pen.
Yeah.
Is that what? Yeah.
Yes.
Number one is pen of letters and correspondence.
Pen of letters and correspondence. Okay.
Letters and correspondence. The second one is pen of diplomats.
Oh, diplomat. Okay.
Diplomats.
The last one, accountant.
And the third one is the pen of bookkeeping. Accounting.
Okay, sure. Okay.
So pen of diplomats is political.
Okay.
The pen of bookkeeping is economic.
Yeah.
And the pen of letters and correspondence is diplomacy, is the international relations.
Prof, one of critique toward Sayyidina Osman ibn Affan is that he appointed governors out of favor, call it impropriety. What do you comment of this, Prof?
I can't hear you properly.
Oh, okay. Maybe my laptop is not that. I'm using the other laptop. One of the critique towards Sayyidina Osman, our Khalifa, is that he appointed governors, family, relative, out of favors. What do you think? What do you take of this criticism, bro?
This one, there is an incident of this nature which was narrated about it, but there are contradictory report on this particular event, that whether Usman was asking for a favor or whether something else was happening. The whole thing is not clear. The fact is that the Usman Ghani radiallahu anhu, he will not be doing this kind of things. He will not be asking for favor personally. Now, if we know he is called Usman Ghani, he was the richest person there, and he was the richest person there. If he wanted to do it, why would he give the money just in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is, we have to look at it from different angles. It's not only one angle. If you take it one angle, then the other angle is lost.
Okay, we have from Brother Abdullah. What is the barriers line between Islamic governance in West?
What is the
barrier?
Barrier?
Line. I mean the dividing line between Islamic and the West, Islamic government and the Western government.
Okay, Western government is purely secular. Islamic government is supposedly Sharia based. It's religious. Secularism and religion, they do not go together. The Western governments, they would like to colonize, not territorially, but mentally. They would like to rule the Muslim part of the world, and they will do whatever they can. Unfortunately, the Muslims do not have the power, so they are the wretched of the earth, they cannot do anything. The dividing line is simple: secularism versus Islam. It is secularism which is dividing it. They do not want anything to do with religion in the public affairs. So when you go to the parliament, they say, in the parliament, we will decide what people want, not what your Islam wants. Okay, if people want to smoke, then smoking should be halal. But your religion says it is haram, so we cannot bring your religion into it. But if you want to keep your religion to yourself in the private sphere, they have no problem with that. Okay? That's why they say, if you want to pray 5 times, why not you pray 55 times? No problem. But you do it in your house, not in public. Do not tell the government that they should make law so that everybody can pray 55 times. No. And this is the dividing line between us and them. Otherwise, we are all human beings and we are all nice people. They are also very nice people. But they do not want to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They want, so to them, man is the measure of everything. To us, Quran is the measure of everything. We go by the Quran, not by men. So no matter what you want, if the Quran says no, then it is no. The whole world may want it, but the Quran says no, it is no. So you cannot argue on that one. But to them, they will say, no, there is no Quran, there is no such thing. Man is the measure of everything. If man wants it, we give it to them. Full stop. No questions to be asked.
Prof, the final question from Brother Nuruddin. Prof, what is your view?
This brother Nuruddin, do I know him?
No. He's the best. What is your view on Weber's explanation of bureaucracy as a form of iron cage in modern society?
As a form of iron age in modern
iron cage in modern society. Is there a fundamental difference between Islamic and Western bureaucracy?
There are 2 questions here. One is about Weber's idea. Max Weber was not against bureaucracy. Max Weber was trying to rationalize it and try to make it legal rational. Okay? So according to Max Weber, there are various types. The legal rational bureaucracy is the best, and without legal rational bureaucracy, the government will not function properly. Okay? This is the first question. The second question was between the Western bureaucracy and Islamic bureaucracy. Is that
any fundamental difference?
La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. That's the fundamental difference. It sounds as if it is nothing but a simple slogan. If you consider the meaning, inherent meaning of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, then you will have no problem understanding the differences between us and them. What is it that differentiates us from them and us? They are human beings like us. They eat, we eat, they see, we see, they walk, we walk, they work, we work, they teach, we teach. What is this that we are teaching? What is it that we are teaching? Are we teaching according to the dictates of Quran and Sunnah, or are we teaching according to our own creations? Do we do it for the sake of Allah? Okay, so the very sarcastic and very simple way of differentiation is Muslims believe in Almighty Allah. Non-Muslims, they believe in Almighty Dollar.
That's true.
And that makes a hell of a difference between the 2 groups.
Okay, Prof. Thank you so much. We have 2 more questions, but I think our time is up. Final remarks for tonight, Prof. Before we close.
In the last meeting, you said that somebody has asked a question, long question,
Oh,
You
yes,
are
yes. I should have forwarded to you. Forward it, let's say.
passed on to me so that I can give an answer.
Yeah, sure.
Inshallah, please forward it to me,
Sure.
and I will definitely be doing it.
Yes.
There is no hard and fast thing. There is nothing that I can talk about. The important thing is that politics you have to learn. There is no way you can avoid politics. And if you cannot avoid politics, then you better learn it. And you have to understand this one. And learning is not by asking. Learning is by doing yourself. And I pray all of us do the same thing, that we can learn by doing rather than by asking. In the past, in Islamic history, we do not have, I think I said it before also, we never had a course called political science. Political science was never a separate course because politics was everywhere and it affected every single thing. Therefore, everybody learned it. So whether you are learning fiqh or Quran or Sunnah or history or civilization, whatever you are learning, you are bringing politics inside it. And therefore, everybody knew about it. Nowadays, we have made politics separate. Okay, most people do not understand that. The major problem of the government is because of the people not being aware of what politics is all about. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the hidayah so that we learn, not because this is my area, but we should learn politics by itself, political science, not politics. And then if we understand, we should move into it and get rid of all the corruptions and the miseries that they have created. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Prof. We'll see you again next week, inshallah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.